Hey, you. Thank you for joining me for episode number 138 of Better Regulate Than Never. Well, I hope that my mic, I got a new mic. I did not want to get another one though, and it is so annoying. This piece right here, it's all made out of wire, and you have to get it in just the right positioning, and I don't want it in my mouth, and I don't want it touching my face, and so it's taken me some time. I still don't know if it's the way I want it to be. But I hope you can hear me this time because that was really not good. The sound last time, and I'm sorry about that. I only record one time. I don't have time to keep recording, and I did record a new audio for the podcast itself because I could not stand to listen to that, and I don't want people to turn it off. I want people to hear the whole thing. And the drama triangle, oh my gosh, is so important, and I wanted to make sure that you could hear it, but it's much easier for me to record an audio than it is another video. So anyway, sorry that was messed up. Hopefully we'll be having a good luck on all the rest of these. So last week was about the drama triangle, and in case you didn't listen to the roles about the drama triangle, you will want to know what your role is, because this week we're just going to talk about the roles and how to get out of them. It was a lot of information for one episode, and I think really after I realized I should have two, I'm so glad that you had a chance to hear about the roles and then had a whole week to think about it. Like, where am I? What roles am I playing in a drama triangle? Because we all do it. I try really hard not to be in drama triangles anymore, but I definitely see myself in those pieces. And so today we're going to talk about how do you get out of that role that you're playing and choose a healthier way to deal with conflict. So hopefully you kind of saw where you were playing those roles, or maybe even noticed what other roles people are playing. Remember, you can only change yourself or only do things for yourself. You can't change other people. But I really think that once you're aware of things, that's when you can really change them. So now you're aware. And so now we will dive into how to do that. So if you are ready to change the roles that you are playing in a drama triangle, I want you to just start thinking about how you now want to take responsibility for your actions in whatever role you're playing and be willing to change, because that's hard. Change is probably one of the most difficult things we do, and why we don't change things that we really want to change in our lives, because it's hard. Say things to yourself like, I am willing to explore whether I adopt these roles or not. I want to learn when I fall into the traps of these roles. I believe they are damaging for my health and relationships, and they are, because they are unhealthy ways to deal with conflict. And I am committed to bring about change for myself and others. So if you start kind of developing those thoughts and beliefs, it will help you to not ignore when you're in some of these roles. So I want you to think about some of your past interactions with people, and where do you see your responsibility in what was happening? And what were you thinking during those times, and how your actions may be playing a part in what that role was, and be willing to try on some new things. So if you have been playing the victim role, now I want you to try on being a creator. So a creator focuses on problem solving and taking responsibility for their own experience. So in the pay the rent play that we did last time, I'll pay the rent, or you must pay the rent, I can't pay the rent, I'll pay the rent. The person that was like, I can't pay the rent, was the victim. So a person who can't pay the rent shouldn't be looking for someone to just rescue them from that situation, but they should problem solve ways to take care of that situation. So if you're not waiting around for someone to fix your problem, then you can go to the work and spend the time on how do I fix my own situation. So instead of saying things like, I need help, say to yourself, I believe in myself and I can take responsibility for my own experience. So think about, what results do you want? Well, I need to be able to pay my rent. Or maybe, I think we talked about this a little bit in last episode, I want to pass my classes, or I want to have more friends. So if you're in problem solving mode, then you're going to look at, what are all the ways I can solve that problem? And what roadblocks get in my way when I want to try these different things to solve the problem? So if you don't have enough money for rent, what can you do? You brainstorm some ideas. What could I do? Well, I could sell some things that have been cluttering up my house that I don't really need anymore. I can take a second part-time job. I can ask around if anyone needs any help around their house or in their yard, or I can create a product and sell it. Like if you're really good at art or crafts or something, you can create something that you could sell for money. So if you're not passing your classes, problem solve, what can I do to solve my, or to pass my classes? I can study more. I can do all my homework, or I can turn my homework in on time. Or I can stay after school with a teacher. I can hire a tutor. I can ask my friends who are good at that subject if they have any tips, or if they can walk through the assignment with me. Not do your homework for you, which I had a client recently tell me that there are people that tell her she has to do their work for them. So, I knew that's kind of stuff went on, but I kind of forgot about it. So, not have someone do it for you, but how can you work with someone to figure out how to do your work? Or if you need more friends, what could you do to get more friends? Well, you could, for one, be really friendly with people, ask people to come over to your house, plan activities to go and do with your friends. Hey, let's all meet at the park, or let's go to the movies, or let's go out to eat. Or maybe if you have a pet, I hear about a lot of people meeting friends at the dog park. Now, I don't have a dog, but if I did, like taking your dog for a walk or go to a dog park, and there's all these people who also like dogs. So that's perfect, because then you can meet people and talk to people that maybe have similar interests than you do. So you just pick some small things that you can do for any situation, problem solve it, and then do those things. And think about, how can I make it easy and inevitable that I will do these small things? So you have to make it something that's easy enough to do, but yet is going to get you going towards what you want. And even if you don't like it, doing things that we don't like is part, and is this, I think, is the secret to success. Because there's probably nothing in the world that people are successful at that they didn't feel like they didn't want to do sometimes. Like if someone is the most accomplished piano player in the world, there were days they didn't want to practice. And you can't become the most accomplished piano player in the world if you don't practice. You have to practice a lot. And if you want to be that person, then you have to be willing to practice even when you don't feel like it. I'm sure people who are in the Olympics didn't always want to go to practice, but there's a lot of practice that's involved in that. And building this business and having this podcast, sometimes I don't want to do the work, but if I don't, then I'm not going to succeed in this job. So I just keep doing it even when I don't want to. Now, we hope that we don't have too many of those days, because that would make it, and I would guess if you hated every bit of it, then this isn't probably what you need to be doing. But you're not going to like it all the time, and that's okay. You just make yourself do stuff that you don't want to do. And so if you've been playing victim role, you're not going to want to be the problem solver, because that's more work. If you just have people do all your stuff for you, that's easy. But the whole point about getting out of the drama triangle is that we want to stop doing unhealthy things, and we want to move towards healthy things, which is work sometimes and boring sometimes and hard. So, but look at what you're good at, use your strengths, and figure out how you can help solve your own problems. Now, if you've been playing the rescuer role, now I want you to be the coach or teacher role. And I want you to maybe model to show someone how to be responsible or how to help them do something and encourage them to find their own solutions. So you're not going to rescue them anymore and just take care of it for them because they're too slow or they don't know how or poor them or whatever. You're just going to show them and trust them to handle their own problems. And that doesn't mean you can't be there as a cheerleader or an encourager or a listener when they're coming up with some ideas about what they need to do, but you're not going to take care of it for them. So you're not going to pay the rent for them. You're going to ask them to come up with these brainstorming ideas like, well, how could you pay for the rent? And what are some things? And I know someone who maybe needs some help, or maybe I need some help and I'll pay you to do these odd jobs or whatever. But you're having them come up with the ideas and then you're helping them kind of sort through them maybe. If your child is failing their classes, get curious with them about, maybe why that is. Because I think that all kids do the best that they can. And if they're failing their classes, that's the best that they can do. What is getting in the way? Now, I'm not saying that they can't pass their classes when I say they're doing the best they can do. They're doing, maybe mentally they just can't handle it right now. Or maybe they don't know how to pass the class and they literally don't know how. And I think sometimes as teachers and parents, we're like, what do you mean you don't know how to pass this class? And sometimes I think I took on that role sometimes too, but because I do believe that if you turn in all your work, you do all the things that your teacher asks you to do, there's no way you're going to fail the class because they're going to tell you all the things that you need to do, like, well, you need to stay after school and work on this, or you need to do this paper over again, or you need to retake this test. And that's the part where kids were like, oh, well, forget it. I'm not doing that. I don't like it. This is boring. This is hard, whatever. And then, of course, they don't pass the class. So I really do believe you are 100% in control of whether you pass things by just doing what you're asked to do and not saying you're not going to do any of it. And if your child is not passing their classes, get really curious about why are you not passing this class? What is going on? What's getting in the way? And don't try to solve it for them. Have them come up, well, what do you think you could do? And how would this work? And how would this work? And then come up with small steps and maybe encourage them through the small steps. But they come up with the plan. You're going to trust that they can take care of it. And then you're just there as a support person. And you can ask the question, what's a way I could help you? What do you need help with? How can I be of best service to you? That's a great question, not how can I do this for you, or this terrible teacher, or this is everyone else's fault, because that doesn't help them. They need to have these problem-solving skills so they're not a victim in their adult life. And you're just there as an encourager. And maybe you do need to reteach some things or model some things about how they would deal with that, but you don't take over doing it for them. If you are worried about your child's friendships, like they don't have enough friendships, or they tell you they want friends and yet they don't have friends, again, you're just going to be really curious about, well, why do you think that is? And what happens when you do this? And a lot of times kids will say, well, I don't. I'm like, well, how many kids did you talk to about being a friend? Well, I don't do that. I don't talk to people. Well, if you don't talk to people, that's why you don't have friends. Like, you have to think about how your own actions contribute to some of the things that happen. And then how can you, and maybe you're picking the wrong friends. Maybe you're choosing people who don't have the same interests as you. And, I don't want to be friends with people who don't have my interests either. Like, nobody wants to do that. So, and again, maybe you need to model or teach something to them to help them have the skills they need to succeed. And I loved this. Go from creating dependency to enabling self-responsibility. Because isn't that what we want from our kids? We want them to be self-responsible. Isn't that what we want if you're a young person listening? Isn't that what you want for yourself? You want to be responsible for yourself. You don't want other people doing it for you. So help your parents, if that's what you need, to get so you are responsible for yourself and they're just your encourager and your supporter. If you have been playing the persecutor role, then I want you to try on being the challenger. And to me, at first when I looked at this, it was hard for me to like get my head around that, because to me, a challenger is still like going after somebody about something. But it meant that as a persecutor, you need to take responsibility for what is your part in it, because a persecutor a lot of times is blaming other people, like, well, this is your fault and you need to get this together and you need to figure this out. And, what is it that I should be doing? And that kind of takes the pressure off this blaming of other people. And maybe you do need to manage a situation and like come up with priorities or expectations, but you don't have control over other people ever, no matter whether you're somebody's parent or the boss or whatever. Like, you're supposed to be the leader and have some control over certain aspects of the environment, but you can't control your kid no matter how much you want to. You can't control your coworkers even if you want to, and even if that's your role as the boss. But how can you work with people? I like the negotiation and the win-win situation. And if you don't know a lot about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and Teens, he wrote a book about teens. I did a whole series a couple years ago. I didn't look this up ahead of time, but you can go back into my episodes and they're labeled Skills for Highly Effective Teens. And there's like 7 different episodes about all of his pillars or concepts. And there's one about win-win situations, if you want to look back on that. But if you need the rent paid, if you're the person asking for rent, then you can speak respectfully to the person who's not paying the rent, and you can be curious with them about, okay, so what's the problem here, and how could I be in service? How can we work together in a win-win situation where I get my rent paid, but then I'm not treating you badly or disrespecting you because you're not able to. Maybe I need to find out what is really going on here and have a plan in place. And if the plan doesn't come to fruition than what you planned, then there's a consequence to that, but you can just do the consequence because you've already planned it out and talked about it. You don't need to have another conversation with them. You don't need to berate them. You don't need to treat them badly. You just move on. Like, if somebody doesn't pay the rent, I'm not in this business, but I'm assuming then there's an eviction process that you go through. Okay, well, you've had this X amount of days and we had this plan and you didn't do it. So now this happens. See you when it's over, see you as you move out or whatever. Like, punishing people and yelling at them and trying to take this power over control instead of power with is never going to be a good situation. I love power with. That goes with parenting. We should not be parenting in a power over situation, even though we do have power over our minors. We should be doing the power with them. Let's work together to have this great relationship and learning experience, not me, pounding things into you and maybe you'll do it and maybe you won't, because it's not a healthy way to teach people how to do things. As parents and as bosses, and really I think as people, we need to be I think about this with my husband. We need to be providing a safe space to talk about anything. And there's no judgments. There's no disrespect. There's no blaming. It's just open conversation. Now, sometimes we hear things we don't want to hear. Sometimes something that is said is kind of painful, and not because they said it in a disrespectful way, but it's like, oh gosh, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish people didn't perceive me that way. But you just are open to that conversation. And when people know that there's no judging or punishing or treating bad when they say how they actually feel, there's like this freedom that happens. And so that's what we need to be focusing on in all of our roles, is that there's this open, safe space to talk about things, no matter what they are. And again, it doesn't mean we say them however we want to, because you can really hurt people by saying really mean things about a situation, but you can find ways to tell the truth about how you're feeling about something and it being safe and kind to say it. So I know that's really difficult, and it takes a lot of your own self-control and intention about how you're going to show up in your relationships, but it's so worth it. I really think that this is the worth of our lives, like the work of our lives. Like, we need to figure out how to be this person that can navigate relationships of all kinds in a way where it's just peaceful and kind and loving, even when they're difficult. Even when you're saying something that you don't really want to say, you can do it in such a loving way. So if you're the persecutor, I want you to ask yourself, how do I really want to be in this situation? What's my purpose here? What am I doing? How am I contributing to this problem? And then focus on the task, like the rent being paid, not the person. Because I think a lot of times as a persecutor, you're blaming a person about something. And I'm not saying that people don't create their own problems, because they totally do. But blaming that person for not paying the rent, blaming your child for not passing their class, blaming them for not having friends is not the way that you're going to fix that problem. So focus on the rent being paid. Focus on this class that's not being passed. Focus on the lack of friendship, if that's what they want. And then how do I problem solve that and help my child, coworker, friend, myself get to a resolution or a result that I want? So now that you know all of these unhealthy roles and ways to deal with conflict and how to get out of those unhealthy roles, you will be better able to see if you are in an unhealthy relationship, and if you are continuing to be around friends and people that want to be in these roles and don't want to change them, and it's uncomfortable for you, that's probably not a friend group you want to be in. Or maybe that's not in a romantic relationship you want to be in. Because sometimes people don't want to change. And I don't get it, because now that I know I have complete control over what kind of life I have, my life is amazing every day. Like, why would I waste any time not having an amazing life? And I don't understand, because everyone does have this power, that they don't take it. But that's why I tell you about it all the time, because I want you to make the choice that you do want to have better relationships. You do want to have these calm, peaceful lives that you get to create. And I can help you with that. If you need help, you can contact me all over on social media. My website is betterregulatethannnever.com. My email is ccoufal. I think I said this in the last episode. It could be Coach Cofal, or Cynthia is my first name. So ccoufal at betterregulatethannnever.com. Any of these ways you can contact me, and I can help you figure out what roles you might be playing. How do you get out of those roles? We could talk about specific situations that are happening that you want to get out of, or you want to see a different result. And parents, it's never too late to change how you're interacting with your family. I know that sometimes it feels like too much time has gone by and too many bridges have been burned, but that's never the case. I have heard of children that are in their 40s finally mending a relationship with their elderly parents. So it doesn't even have to be if they're still in your home, though of course the sooner we do it, the better. But it's never too late. So I don't want you to ever feel like you can't fix these situations. And it's never too late to fix a marriage, or fix a friendship, or if you want to fix those things and the other person is willing to, compromise with you, mediate it, win-win situation, then why wouldn't you want to fix that and make it better? But I think everyone, and this has helped me too, everyone will benefit from looking at the roles they're playing and how they can change them. So, if you are not part of my community, what in the heck? Why are you not part of my weekly email that I send out? So if you are not, you can go to my homepage of my website, and at the very bottom left, it says, I think it says get on my weekly email list or something. And you just subscribe right there. And my Monday, I send it out every Monday, and my Monday email participants, people that get it, they get the YouTube video of that podcast episode, and they can watch it on Monday on Tuesdays when my episode actually comes out. So they get a 1 day earlier access to the content of my podcast. And they're also going to find out about offers that I'm doing ahead of everyone else, which is a great, because if there's a limited amount of people that can go to something or be in something, then they're going to know about it first. So if you want to be on that list so you can get that information, you definitely need to go get on my list so that you can find out about what I'm offering, because that UMAP stuff, I am so excited about it. It is just going to totally change everything. And I don't know what my offers are going to be yet, because I'm just in the training of being able to give UMAP and being able to debrief people on the UMAP results. But it is going to change everything about what I do. And so there's definitely going to be some offerings, and I want you to know about them because you are listening. So also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're watching it on YouTube, and like the videos. That helps other people to find them when they're doing a search, and it helps all the algorithms. I don't know a ton about any of that stuff, but it would help other people. And share this information. Share this video with somebody. If you're listening to the podcast, share this episode or the last one and this one so they know what is a drama triangle and then how to get out of it, because a lot of people are in a drama triangle. I'll talk to you soon.